Today, we're going to wrap up our series on playing time. In the last few weeks, we've been using the word time as an acronym to represent, one, why you might not be getting the playing time you feel you deserve, and also some tools that you can use to build your playing time. And today is exciting because we're to the letter E. We're wrapping up the series, and we're gonna talk about some things that you can actually do immediately to make an impact on your playing time and make you stand out to your coach. So let's jump in. Welcome back to Hard Smart Together. I'm Coach Dave. I'm here every week to help you with your mental game, to share the mindset tools and habits that can help take your game to the next level, both on and off the court. So this week, we're wrapping up our series on playing time, as I mentioned. Exciting week. We're gonna, as I mentioned, we're going to wrap up the word time, and we've been using it as an acronym. And each letter has represented first, the T represented why you might not be getting the playing time that you feel you deserve. The I, we went over some long-term strategies for investing in your own self-development to earn playing time. And M, we talked about how your mind can affect your mental toughness, and three distinct ways that you could use mental toughness to impact your playing time and stand out to coaches. And today is really exciting because I'm excited to share the E with you. It's something we're going to talk about the E, and we're going to talk about some specific areas that you can use to impact your playing time to stand out to a coach. But be sure to stick around to the end of the video. The reason I say that is because the final tool that I'm going to give you is something that it can impact your playing time today. You can make a change and really impact how coaches look at you immediately. So we're going to go over that tool that you can use anytime, and we'll be covering that. We're going to cover some other ways that you can use the E that we're going to disclose here in a few minutes, but be sure to stick around to the end of the video because I think the final strategy that we're going to share is really impactful, and it can change the way that you practice, that you play, that you approach games, that you stand out to coaches, and all of these things are going to really affect your playing time. We've also talked about in the past, talk about standing out to coaches and impacting your playing time. We've talked about in the past, I've made a free gift available to you. It is a kind of a PDF checklist of 8 their champion intangible skills that you should be working on. And in this checklist, I give you some ways to work on these skills that will really make you stand out to coaches. And the beauty of what I've designed here is I put it as a PDF so you can resize it. If you want to print it out, put it on a wall, you could even print it out poster size if you want to, which I recommend as a reminder of these skill sets that you should be developing on a regular basis that'll make you a great teammate and really, like I said, impact how coaches view you. So I'll put the link below. If you happen to be listening on the podcast or don't see the link below, simply go to www.hardsmarttogether.com/intangibles. Simple download, and I highly recommend that you start working on those skills. If you happen to be a parent of a player and you're listening, go ahead and download it and share it with your player as a free gift from me. So today, E, like I said, we've used time as an acronym, and I wanted to use the word time because every time you think of playing time, you should really think of, oh yeah, that's why I'm probably not getting the playing time. Oh yeah, that's something that I can do long term. Oh yeah, that's something that I can do, with my mind that can really affect the way coaches is trusting me and our relationship and how we move forward and how I earn more playing time. But today is something that you can change immediately. And so we're going to share the E, and the E stands for energy and how you can bring energy. So we're going to talk about 3 distinct ways that you can bring energy to a game, to a practice, to a tryout. Anytime that you are, having a basketball activity, you can bring your energy. And what does energy really mean? I mean, energy is more than just movement and activity. It's your passion. It's your enthusiasm, okay? And it shows your love for the game. And that's going to make you stand out to teammates. It's going to make you stand out to coaches. And, I got to tell you, if we're talking about playing time specifically, so you're saying, oh yeah, I bring energy, but how does that affect my playing time? Well, let me tell you something. If it's between you and another player, and all your skill sets are exactly the same, maybe you shoot, fairly equally, you handle the ball fairly equally, everything else is equal. You know the offense, you know the defense, you participate in practice, and it's down to coach trying to figure out who's going to get this next slot of playing time. Whatever the reason might be. Maybe it's who am I going to move into the 6-man role? Who am I going to move into the starting lineup? Who am I going to, replace the starter with because they're out with an injury? Who's going to get those minutes? Who's going to get some minutes at the end of the game just to kind of prove themselves and get off the bench so that I can see if I can put them in one of these other playing roles? So there's a lot of different time to be earned depending on where you are on your team. But whether you are, right now not getting in the game or just getting in the game a little bit, your energy, your passion can make a tremendous difference. So we're going to cover 3 ways that you can bring energy every day and stand out to your coach. Now, as I mentioned, stick around for the 3rd way because it's a game changer. It's literally a game changer. You can change your energy level, and we're going to teach you how to do that. The first way to really stand out with your energy, though, is communication. And if you haven't already downloaded the 8 Championship Intangible Skills, communication's number 1 on that list. And I give you on that download some ways to work on it, but we're going to talk about a couple here today. The first way that you can really utilize communication to increase your energy and to really stand out with your energy is by using names. So many players don't use names. So many people don't use names. But when you use somebody's name, whether it's in a conversation, on a practice court, in a team meeting, it doesn't matter. When you address them with their name, it grabs their attention. It makes them stand out because it shines a spotlight on them that you utilize their name. So, what do I mean by that, and how do we usually not use names? When you're calling for the ball, what are you usually saying? Sitting there going, ball, ball, ball. But if you said, Coach Dave, ball. Coach Dave, what? I'm going to turn around and go, oh, yeah, they want the pass, right? And that's going to capture the attention. If you're making a pass, how many times have you made a great pass only to have the person looking away to go set a screen or, get hit in the side of the head with a great pass, right? Call out their name. Cindy. Ready for the ball, okay? When you're addressing your coach, Coach Dave, Coach Tracy, Coach whoever the coach is, really by calling out their name, it calls attention, it puts the attention on what you're about to say, which brings me to the next point of communication. You see in a lot of sports, chatter. What do I mean by chatter? Now, I might kind of throw myself under the bus with the softball group out there, but I will tell you, I commonly am working out at local schools and I can hear softball games going on in the background. I'm sorry if you play softball. But there's a lot of chatter going on. In fact, I think it's designed to be chatter. But it drives me crazy as a coach because I'm sitting there listening and I can't tell what they're saying. There's 50 people all talking at the same time. They're all kind of chattering. There's no useful information going around. It's just chatter. So when you use somebody's name, I want you to follow it up with some useful information. You know, coach, should I set the screen here? Whatever the case might be. Bob, I've got your help. I've got your help side. Name and useful information. Don't use chatter. Chatter will drive some coaches crazy. Maybe some coaches like it. Chatter to me drives me crazy, so I prefer not to have chatter. But if you have a coach that loves chatter, I guess continue with the chatter. But it's better to communicate with names, useful information. And then the other way you can use communication is by spreading positivity all over the practice court, the game court, and everything. You don't need to be in a game to do this, but you can celebrate your teammates' wins. You can celebrate your team wins, whether that is celebrating a great pass, right? Susie, great pass. Andy, great charge. If you're on the court, running over to pick up a teammate, that just took a charge or made a great defensive stop or made a hustle play out of bounds, whatever the case may be, sprinting over and helping them up. But the communication, the positivity can help drown out some of the negativity that you might hear. You might be hearing negativity from us coaches, right? Us coaches are famous for pointing out what's going bad, what's going wrong. So take it on your responsibility as a player to increase the energy level within the gym by pointing out all the positivity, all the positive things, all the small wins that are happening with players. In a game, you might be hearing some negativity from the stands. I know it's probably not, your fans, it's probably not your parents, it's probably some stranger that wandered into the gym and throwing around negativity, but there's some negativity, I'm guessing, in a game. Why did you do that? That's a horrible play. Run a defense, get back on defense, whatever it is. I guess that's a reminder, but the point is that there's some negative things that can be going in a gym, and you can increase the energy in a gym and shine the spotlight on yourself by being positive and celebrating all the small wins. So, communication. How do you stand out with your communication? How do you stand out and earn playing time? You can earn playing time with communication just simply, as I mentioned before, because it might be down to you and one other player, and that other player isn't communicating a lot. Maybe they're always quiet. Maybe they don't use names. Maybe they don't, have positive things to say. Maybe they don't have anything to say. You can stand out by the energy that you exude and the passion that you exude and the energy you bring to the table with your communication. So what's the second way to really show your passion and your energy for the game? That's coming prepared. And what do I mean by that? I'm just going to tell you, when I coached in high school years and years ago, we had something called pre-practice. Now, pre-practice wasn't mandatory necessarily, but it was highly encouraged, and everybody came to pre-practice. Pre-practice for us started 20 minutes before practice officially started. And we had it fairly organized. I kind of orchestrated it as a coach, and I gave some thoughts on some stations that they could use, and there was a warm-up, kind of a dynamic warm-up stretching station to get their bodies in order. There was a one-handed shooting station because off the main gym, we actually had some hoops where they could do some one-handed shooting and really develop their form, and maybe they'd spend, 3, 4, 5 minutes there. They would also do some ball handling. We did some Pistol Series ball handling, Pistol Pete Maravich, some of his ball handling drills. They do some passing and catching, utilizing names. practicing communication. But it doesn't matter whether you have a whole team doing pre-practice, but you should develop your own pre-practice. You should not be the player that shows up 3 minutes before practice, throws on their shoes, and goes out into the court. Why do I say that? Because coaches can't stand the first 15, 20 minutes of practice having to get the team engaged and ready. And the majority of players, that's what they do. They use the first 15 minutes of practice to kind of get their bodies warmed up, their minds warmed up, their shot warmed up, everything warmed up, right? Well, if you've already done that, guess what? That first 15, 20 minutes of practice, if nobody else is doing it, you stand out. Your energy stands out. Why? Because your body's prepared. We actually, during our pre-practice, used to have because we had a practice plan that everybody had, and we had a quote of the day. And the quote of the day, we would, talk to players. We'd have some questions about, well, what does that quote mean to you? How do you think that applies to us? Right before we stepped on the court, what did that do? That got our minds engaged. So you can use some ways to get your mind engaged as well. And that's the third piece of energy that we're going to cover today. So stick around. Really a game changer, as I said. But you can prep so that your energy stands out in the beginning of practice. Let me tell you something. You could influence your entire team. If the coach shows up and the coach is, getting the clock ready, getting the balls ready, getting stuff ready, and 20 minutes before practice, every practice, they see you over there during your pre-practice routine, you might influence them to implement a pre-practice routine for your entire team. And then your entire team gets better, and then you guys are working towards your goals even faster. The reason I implement it as a coach and the reason I recommend it to players is because we don't have enough time. If you're at the CYO level, you might be practicing once a week for a couple of hours. If you're at the AAU level, a couple of times a week maybe for a couple of hours. If you're at the high school level, you're probably practicing 5 or 6 days a week, but your coach is trying to put in offense and put in defense and put in scouts and all those. And if you're at the college level, it's so quick that games come, and then you're really concentrating on film study and scouting other teams and preparing and travel, and there's so much involved that there's not a lot of time for practice. And so preparing for practice and being the best you when you step on the court is really important, and it really will put a spotlight on your energy. So we've covered 2. You can become a much better communicator. That'll help your energy and help your energy shine to everyone. You can prepare. Pre-practice is not just for, games. You can have a pre-practice routine as an individual for practices that will prepare your body, all your skill sets, whether it's ball handling, passing, catching, shooting, all those things. And you don't need a hoop to do this. You don't even need a court. You could be outside the gym, grab a teammate, do some passing and catching, start saying names, get prepared. And that will help illustrate your energy. And then we come to the third way to really impact your energy. This, as I mentioned, is a game changer, because we've mentioned in some other videos, when you show up to a practice, when you show up to a game, sometimes you just don't feel like it, right? You've been in school all day. You've had maybe, 3 big tests. Maybe you got in a fight with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. There's a million reasons that practice or even a game sometimes might not be the thing that you feel like going to do. So how can you change your energy level? And I'm going to give you a tool to do it instantly at any time that you really want to change your energy level. What I wanted you to do, and we're going to ask you to participate in this video. I want you to participate today. You're sitting alone. This can be your little secret that you're trying out this strategy. Don't be too cool. That's one of the biggest things that get in the way of athletes getting to the next level. Don't be too cool to try out this mindset strategy. So what we're going to talk about today is your ability to instantly change your state. And what do I mean by your state? I mean your state of mind and your state of your body, because they're connected. Your mind is incredibly powerful in the ways it can affect your body, and vice versa. Movement and your body is incredible, your physiology is incredibly powerful in the way it can affect your mind and your thoughts. So what I want you to do is think about one of those days that you maybe just don't feel like going to practice. It's been a long day of school. You've got a ton of homework. You know, your parents are on you about something. You don't feel like dealing with coach today and, oh, what are we going to have to do? And are we going to have to do conditioning and whatever? I just don't want to deal with that. I want you to think about how your body is, how you're thinking during that moment. When you're walking into the gym for practice and you don't feel like it and all those things are going, I'm going to guess that your head's kind of down. I'm going to guess that your facial expressions are kind of like, you can tell you've had a bad day. This is not where you want to be right now, right? Probably not a smile on your face, okay? If anybody talks to you on the way into the gym, hey Dave, how's it going? It's going okay. It's going okay. You know, your voice sounds kind of down and dejected, right? How's your breathing? How's your breathing when you feel like that? I'm going to guess that your breathing's kind of shallow. Your arms are kind of slumped, okay? All this, your breathing, your facial expressions, your voice, your body language, the way you walk into the gym. Do you walk in with a purposeful walk? Or are you just kind of lumbering in the gym, your gym bag hanging off your shoulder like it's 1,000 pounds, trying to get into the gym, and you got the next 2 hours with your coach, and this is not something you're looking forward to. I want you to put yourself in that frame of mind right now. Just think back to those times. And I want you to actually do that. Slump your head right now. Wherever you're sitting, wherever you're watching this video, slump your head, slump your shoulders. Talk in kind of a dispassionate way. You know, your facial expressions are kind of, you know, maybe it's not a frown, but it's certainly not a smile. It's not joy. You're not exuding joy. You're just not feeling into it. If you're listening to this and you have a space to walk how you'd walk into the gym when you're really feeling not great. So how can we change this? How can we change this instantly and change your state? Well, movement can do that. Now what I want you to do is I want you to think of the opposite. Once a time that you've gone to practice, maybe you're in line for a starting role, you're excited, you've had a great day, the birds are chirping, the sun's shining, and everything's well with the world, and you walk into practice, and I want you to think about how you walk into practice on those days, okay? You probably got a smile on your face. Somebody says, hey Dave, how's it going? Oh, I'm going to practice. You're gonna have a great day. You know, this is gonna be the greatest practice ever. Your walk is you're probably strutting. You know, your shoulders are back, your head's up. You got to look at those birds chirping and that sun shining and the butterflies flying around or whatever, because on those days, there's no bad weather, there's no, you know, negativity. You're ready to go. Your voice is sounding energized and you're ready to do some great communicating and be positive. But you can't rely on that all the time because we have bad days, okay? But I want you to put yourself in that state right now. Sit your head back, smile. Smiling's a big one. Put a big grin on your face. Put your head up, shoulders back. If you can walk around, walk with that confident, I'm going to have the greatest practice ever. I'm going to have the greatest game ever attitude. You know? Now, when you are getting yourself in that mode, that feels a lot different. You're probably energized and you can't even think of that mode you were just in where you were down and your head was hanging and you weren't ready to get into the gym. And when you were putting yourself in that mode, you saw me. I have a power move. I call it a power move. It's a trigger. It's a trigger to put myself into that place of ready for practice. And mine is a quick clap. That puts me, you probably saw, it was easy for me to change my physiology and my mental state at that point because I have practiced that trigger a lot of times throughout the years, right? So your trigger might be different. It might be a snap of the fingers. It might be raising your arms. It needs to be something that's physical and quick. It might be a pump of the fist. Make it quick and make it physical. Some type of activity. Throw up your hands. Whatever the case might be. Mine, and I used to use it with my team all the time. Mine was a clap and we're ready to go. Okay? Myself personally, all my physiology changed. So, how can you use these two different extremes? Okay? How can you change how you're standing, where your head is, your facial expressions, your voice, your breathing? Your breathing becomes deeper. You become more energized. How can you change that? This is something that you can change in an instant. Okay? Find your trigger, find your physical trigger, and practice whenever you find yourself low energy, low passion, not feeling it, not wanting to do it. You find yourself in these physical modes, use that trigger, and building up to that, put yourself, here's what I want you to do. Here's your homework for today. Put yourself in that low, negative, not feeling it mode. Change all that physiology. Whatever you decide on with your trigger, do your trigger and then change all your physiology. Do that, 5, 10 times a morning, an evening. Whenever you can find the time, you're alone. Again, this can be your little secret. It might feel goofy. Don't be too cool to put this tool of changing your state into your toolbox and help your athletic career. Because this can help you whether you're a basketball player or someday down the line you're in a job. This can help you in so many ways when you're just not feeling it, when you're mentally zapped. You can put yourself in an instant great frame of mind and change your physiology. By changing your physiology, by having a trigger that goes from low energy to high energy, then what I want you to do after you've practiced this, we're coming up on the season, you're coming up on tryouts, you could have this trigger installed and ready at your disposal. Then no matter if you're feeling bad or not, before you take a step onto the court, that might be your trigger, in fact. That would be a great trigger. Maybe you're doing your pre-practice, and this is part of your pre-practice. Really engaging your mind and getting in the right energy level to step on the court. And maybe your trigger is the minute you step into the gym, the minute you step onto the court, make it a big bouncing, something really quick and active. That could be your trigger to change all your physiology. All of a sudden your head goes back, you smile, you're breathing better, your voice is different, your shoulders are back, you're walking different. And I want you to utilize that every time you walk onto the court for practice. Whatever you decide your trigger is. That's just an idea. Stepping onto the court, my clap is an easy one for me. Yours can be whatever physical trigger you have to go from low energy to high energy. But let me tell you something. If you're always the person with high energy, people don't need to see you in those low energy moments because you have a trigger that can instantaneously put you in a great place. And then your practices, you stand out. You stand out to your coaches, you stand out to your teammates. They might even ask you, how are you always high energy? You can share your little secret at that point. Well, I'm not always high energy. I got a trigger. And you could teach the skill set to them. But this is a great mindset tool to increase your energy. Okay? So here's 3 different ways that you can increase your energy. 1, utilize your communication skills. Prepare for practice. Have your own pre-practice routine. That really warms up your body, warms up your mind, gets all your skills, going. And then most importantly, you now have a tool. At any point when you find yourself low energy, you can change your state. You can change your state of mind by changing your physiology and by having a physical trigger to kind of trick your brain into, oh, what do you mean I was low energy? I'm not low energy. I'm high energy. This is going to be the greatest practice of my life. Another thing I used to tell my team only had one goal when we went into practice, and that was to have the greatest practice that we've ever had in our life. And it became kind of a running joke because the next practice I'd say, you know what we got to do? Oh, we know, have the greatest practice we've ever had in our life. But that's true. That's your goal for every practice. That's your goal for every game. That's your goal for every team meeting. And that's how you're going to move yourself to the next level in your basketball career. So we've wrapped up the acronym time. If you haven't watched the previous 3 videos, I highly recommend go back and watch, the T, the I, the M, more game changers for how to earn more playing time, stand out to coaches, and take your game to the next level. Hopefully E was really valuable to you. I'd love to hear your comments. Could you comment below? Let me know if you're utilizing the tool of changing your state, you're changing your physiology, changing your mindset. How is that working for you? What do you think about that tool? What would you like to see in future videos? Give me some comments. I would love to hear, like the video, give me some comments. And until next week, we'll have a whole new topic that we're going to go on to. We've wrapped up the playing time topic. Until next week, be sure to play hard, play smart, and most importantly, play together. Have a great week. See you then.